Who is from Reuters?
I think nobody has come.
Mamgai.
Preface here. This press conference is for my daughter, Manasvi. And I am already too overexposed. I've answered too many questions, too many times, the same questions, same answers, probably for the last 2 months. So
one more time.
no, so we're not. I'm not answering those questions. So here, this press conference is primarily focused on Manasvi. I'll give you a preface with that also. She is one Indian citizen who has spent more time up and close with Donald Trump than probably all Indian citizens combined in the world. So she's very active in the campaign, and after the win, the celebration in the inauguration, and she also spent a lot of time on the Get Out the Vote effort, that is conversion of Hindu Americans in United States. More than 1 million votes switched from the Democrat side to the Trump side. That is in 2008 and 2012. Those two elections, only 16% of Hindu Americans, among roughly about 2 million, voted for a Republican candidate, that is McCain or Mitt Romney. But in this election, 64.9%, massive switch. That kind of a switch has never ever taken place in the history of the United States. That one voting bloc changes that percentage. And there are reasons for that. And so those are the two topics. I would like you to ask questions from Manasvi. She's into that deeply. So go ahead. You may want to make a statement, and really, I'm just going to set aside. All right?
Too much pressure. But thank you all for coming. Pops, well, you should join. Sit here.
No, it's okay. You go ahead.
No. Okay. My father, me, and we have some really hardworking and some really beautiful people working at RHC. And our mission is to make 21st century an Indo-American century. And for the last, I got in, last 9 months, but before that also, we've worked very hard, and we've had a very, very successful campaign under the leadership and under the vision of my father. Yeah, that's it.
Any questions from the press?
So basically your background is Bollywood and you've been in entertainment. What prompted you to switch over to politics or get involved in politics?
So it's a very interesting story. Everybody's comfortable with English or Hindi is better, or what is it?
Hindi better.
Hindi is better?
English.
Okay.
Is that okay?
I'll have to try.
Okay. So I'll keep it mixed. So, करीब 9 months पहले, I'm a very big Modi fan. So I love our Prime Minister. And about 9 months back, our Prime Minister was called to address the joint session of Congress. So my father was like, why don't you come here? He's addressing the joint session of Congress. And I was very, generally young people have reservations about politics, we see it from the outside and we don't fully understand it. We judge it. But this was an interesting opportunity. Being a Modi fan, I was like, हाँ चलो, I want to see his speech. So in America, we were Speaker Paul Ryan's. We were in a part of his welcome committee to welcome Prime Minister, and that's the first time. That was my first brush with politics. I met Prime Minister. I met Speaker Paul Ryan. I met some really wonderful, intelligent leaders and congressmen. And I found it very, very interesting. I was like, hey, this is something to learn from. And then that led to, probably my father saw that I had this inclination. So he started encouraging me and educating me about the policies, about what's happening, current affairs, what's happening in the US politics. And at that time, he had the opportunity to speak with the then candidate Donald Trump. So at RHC, we have 4 core values. One is free enterprise. Second is fiscal discipline. Third is family values. Fourth is fight against terrorism. तो जब हमने Donald Trump तब जब candidate थे उनसे बात करी, so he stood for all these principles. So which is why RHC decided to support him, which is why my father decided to support him. And there was a lot of media bias, ये कुछ controversies, कुछ और. But जब हमने उनसे बात करी तो पता चला कि it's not like that. He actually stands for what's right. From there on, we got onto the campaign and we campaigned tirelessly. There is about 4.2 million, am I correct? 4.2 million Hindu Americans, and which is why we decided to have Hindu and not Indian. This is a frequent question कि आप Indian Hindu क्यों बोलते हैं, religion क्यों लाते हैं? तो इसका ये आंसर है कि हिंदू बड़ा कैटेगरी है, इंडियन छोटा कैटेगरी है, और हिंदुइज्म सिर्फ एक रिलीजन नहीं है, एक ब्रॉड वे ऑफ लाइफ है, बहुत सेक्युलर है. हम लोग हिंदुइज्म डजंट से कि एक प्रॉफिट को मानो या एक बुक को मानो या यही ये सही है. इट्स वेरी सेक्युलर, इट्स वेरी इंक्लूसिव, इट्स वेरी ब्यूटिफुल. सो वी डिसाइडेड टू support Donald Trump. That's where our journey started. My first interaction with President Trump was a rally that we organized on 15th October in New Jersey. And पहले तो I used to be performing, but इस बार I was managing as well, and इस बार I was coordinating for and putting up the show as well. So that was very interesting. That was another experience. तो पहली मुलाकात मेरी डोनाल्ड ट्रंप से उस इवेंट में हुई. And because I was a former Miss India and he had Miss Universe pageant, तो हमारी बातचीत start हुई. And so I had this picture of Donald Trump, because of the media. And when I spoke to him, I was like, this is a very honest person. He doesn't have a facade. He says it like it is. He's a leader. And why I really was drawn to him is because हमारी रैली में उन्होंने बहुत अच्छी स्पीच दी, बहुत मोटिवेटिंग स्पीच दी, बहुत स्ट्रॉन्ग स्पीच दी, और फिर वो चले गए थे स्पीच खत्म करके. But he sensed the crowd. That crowd wanted more. So he came back on the stage and he shouted, "We love India. We love Hindus." So the atmosphere was so energetic that the vibe was so good that I just got attracted to the whole campaign. And that's where we started, because I was like, this is the person who's connecting with audience, and this is the person who's connecting with people. So that is where my actual journey in the campaign started. We campaigned tirelessly for 6 months. We campaigned out of Florida. We campaigned all over America, in the key states especially. And we converted about 1 million Hindu votes. So that was a big, big chunk of votes. I think the other party never anticipated that. And that had a big role to play in Republicans winning this election. So President Trump, after winning, so sometimes the other politicians, जब campaign होता है, तो they are always with you, and so many times once the campaign is over, they forget their promises. But this is a person, this is a president who, after winning, came to Florida in a rally, pointed out to Hindus and said, "Thank you, the Hindu community." So he even remembered that. He still remembers it. He still is very appreciative. He called Prime Minister Modi 5th in line among all the world leaders. He has great admiration for him. And so in continuance with that, I got an opportunity to perform at his inauguration ceremony. So for the first time, there were a lot of first times in this whole campaign. First time Hindus were involved. First time we made a mark. So first time there was a Bollywood show in his inauguration, and I had the honor to lead it. Mika Singh bhi the us performance mein. And it was very beautiful. Crowd went crazy because wo color, jo entertainment, jo naach gana, Hindi culture, India ke culture mein hai, wo kahin nahi hai. So this is a new thing. They loved it. It was a great opportunity, and we attended almost 10-11 events during the inauguration, right from vice president's dinner to president's dinner to inauguration ceremony. So it was quite heartwarming. There was huge crowds at the inauguration. And yeah, so that's still continuing, and people say that your work is over now, and you've achieved something, but I always say the work has just started. We need to continue this. We've made this huge impact. So we at RHC are making all the efforts now, since we have such great rapport with the Trump family and in the White House. We're trying our best to have best relations between India and America, so that world's two largest democracies are the biggest allies. And we're trying to work on trade, we're trying to work on defense. I'm very, very sentimental about issue of terrorism and fight against radical Islamic terrorism. That's the closest to my heart. So we're that, and maybe cultural exchange, maybe movies, maybe so we're trying to have the best come out of an alliance from both the countries. So we have very exciting stuff planned ahead.
And when you say that build cultural ties, are you talking of something?
Movies, yes, of course.
Yeah.
So what happens is when you increase trade, when you increase business in any form, so there are jobs created in America and then there are jobs created in India as well. So जैसे जहाँ तक फिल्मों की शूटिंग की बात होती है, तो फिल्मों की शूटिंग जब अमेरिका में होगी तो वहाँ भी जॉब्स बनेंगी, यहाँ भी जॉब्स बनेंगी. तो वी आर वर्किंग ऑन अ फेडरल ग्रांट दैट कुड इनकरेज Bollywood productions there, Bollywood distributions there. So we're working on everything, and that's where I come from. That's my expertise also. So I would love to be a part of that whole exchange also. My father is already a pro on the defense and the trade and the fight against terrorism. So I bring the cultural part a little bit.
I have a question for, sorry.
Pops, come now.
आपसे सवाल करने थे सलभ जी, प्लीज.
First, why don't you? I want to actually see if she. Why don't you ask your questions to her first? Okay, try.
Okay, I have another one.
Okay.
So there's been growing attacks on Indian Americans, and the response from Mr. Trump has been shockingly slow. And there is growing insecurity among Indian nationals.
I would disagree, but finish your question.
Yeah, so how do you reassure, I mean, there is a lot of insecurity among Indian nationals as well as in the larger Indian American community in the US right
I would
now.
disagree. So this again, when I say there's a lot of media bias and there's a lot of news that comes from the other party that is circulated, which is not true always. जो आप कैंसस अटैक की बात कर रहे हैं, ऐसे अटैक्स बहुत सारे होते हैं और होते रहे हैं हिस्ट्री में. Even when ex-president Barack Obama was there, ऐसे racially motivated attacks पूरे होते रहे हैं अमेरिकन हिस्ट्री में. बट अब क्या है ना, क्योंकि हिंदू कम्युनिटी का इतना अच्छा टाइज है at the White House, people are highlighting that, so that to create friction, to create insecurity. So I mean, Indians, this is a message also that please don't be scared. And coming to how they reacted, I don't know if you followed or not. President Trump, after 3 days after the incident, he addressed the joint session of Congress. He started his address. He doesn't have to do that. He started his address speaking about the cancers attack.
Real correction, 6 days.
6 days, sorry.
6 days.
6 days after.
It took FBI.
Yeah, so they were investigating and
5 days and roughly 20 hours.
Yeah.
To come to a conclusion.
So they wanted to find कि actually was this the actual reason before making a statement. So once they investigated, जब उनको पता चला कि yes, it was a hate crime, they came out. He made a statement. He made that statement before his joint session of Congress, and that's a very, very big thing. Very, very big thing. And also he issued a statement through Sarah Sanders, who's the White House Deputy Press Secretary, and she says that they condemn this. So it was very strong statement, but the क्या है कि media highlight करती है बुरी चीजों को.
The thing is that he is a very outspoken man.
Yes.
And he is very outspoken usually. So given the fact that he speaks and comments regularly, so the reaction came as a little slow compared
No, I don't think so. I think, I think this is way bigger. Once, so why they took that time is because they wanted to see if this is actually that happened, if the news is correct or not. Once they figured out what the news is correct, he issued a statement in his, I don't think it can get bigger than that, before he addresses the joint session of Congress, which is a huge thing. He said that. So I don't think it's a correct response.
I will intervene also in there because a lot of people don't quite understand.
सर आप बैठे ना प्लीज.
It's okay. If the President of the United States enters into civil litigation or criminal litigation, the case itself becomes spoiled. Unless you have full investigation, you just cannot. It was a case in point was when Barack Obama just became president in 2009, and there was an incident like that, and he jumped the gun because the victim was an African American. He jumped the gun. Lots of problems. Even Justice Department, his own people are after him because you cannot interfere. The President of the United States, the U.S. government is a very methodical, controlled government. There is judiciary, there is Congress, and then there is the executive branch. Let the judiciary do their job. They don't like interference.
ट्रम्प को अमेरिका में भारत का मोदी कहा जाने लगा था इस चुनाव के दौरान. अभी भारतीयों के लिए जीतने के बाद जो है वो क्या कर रहे हैं भारत में, जैसे एक लोगों में डर है कि वहाँ से अभी वो केवल अमेरिका जो है उनको सपोर्ट कर रहे हैं और जो भारतीय वहाँ हैं उनकी नौकरियाँ जाने वाली हैं. वहाँ से ये कि यहाँ पे ऐसा खबर है, ऐसा डर है. आप इस पे क्या कहेंगे, क्योंकि आप तो वहाँ से आए हैं, आप बताइए.
Actually,
सर मैं ये आपसे जानना चाह रहा था.
I'll just start it. President Trump की ना एक उनका ये कैंपेन है अमेरिका फर्स्ट, और ये क्यों नहीं होना चाहिए मुझे बताइए. आप जिस देश के प्रेसिडेंट हैं उसकी प्रायोरिटीज पहले क्यों नहीं आनी चाहिए. जैसे हमारे प्राइम मिनिस्टर हैं, उन्होंने मेक इन इंडिया बनाया, तो वो चाहते हैं कि इंडिया को प्रेफरेंस मिले मैन्युफैक्चरिंग में इंडिया में. तो मुझे बताइए अमेरिकन को उनकी ही कंट्री में प्रेफरेंस क्यों ना मिले, और उसमें क्या खराब है.
नहीं बिल्कुल नहीं, बट
Exactly.
यहाँ पे डर है,
तो जो डर है वो बिना बात का डर है. आई थिंक मैं अगर कहीं की भी प्रेसिडेंट होती या कोई भी होता तो उनको अपने देश की प्रायोरिटीज पहले चाहिए, राइट. तो उनका जो कैंपेन है आई थिंक बिल्कुल वैलिड है, और आई थिंक आई रिस्पेक्ट दैट अ लॉट. एंड ही इज ऑल्सो वेरी ये जो पूरे डर हैं इमिग्रेशन जॉब्स, ये बस फालतू के डर हैं, ये नहीं होने चाहिए. he likes skilled legal immigrants. What he's against is illegal immigrants. I think what he says is absolutely perfect. It's just, it's sometimes blown out of proportion and taken in the wrong way. अगर आप actually उनकी बातों को समझें तो बहुत actually sensible बातें हैं.
But what about the fact that he's raised the money that an Indian or an Asian will make compared to an American? I mean, it does cut out opportunities, job opportunities for those look for opportunities.
Sorry, I didn't quite understand.
So he has made changes.
But see, first of all, what happens is, in a way, it is correct that anything a president does, the most powerful man on this earth, press tries to read something into it. If he sneezes, people are going to try to read something into it. He says one word, people are going to try to read something into it. Everybody tries to read something into it. So like when you make a statement that he increased the wage structure, that I'm not going to say to fault the media for that, but it's simply ignorance. Because the president of the country doesn't have the authority. He cannot change the constitution of the country. That authority lies only with the Congress. He just simply can't even do it. And there are lots of different proposals that come out. It's the different congressmen that suggest, because that's their job. So Congress makes different proposals, then they debate on those proposals, then they vote on those proposals. House of Representatives is one body, that's equal to the Lok Sabha. And then you have the Rajya Sabha equivalent Senate, that votes. Then they have a reconciliation bill, then they combine, then it goes to the president for signature. This is how the American process works. So that's what the mostly Indian media is pretty active, but doesn't have the knowledge of how the system works. So that's why all these issues get raised. For example, in fact, there's just a news out just now, just a couple of hours ago. We have been saying that there will be no change in H1 because President has too many other priorities. Domestic priorities are way too many other priorities for the legislative agenda in the country. Tax reform, repeal and replacement of Obamacare, getting rid of the Iran nuclear deal. So many other things to do, they cannot just tackle this. So a statement just came out 2 hours ago, which I've been saying that, we've both been saying that for quite some time, is there will be nothing on H1 that will change for 1 year. And they just issued a statement. And in fact, in that respect, the most senior congressman or senator, Senator Orrin Hatch of Utah, his proposal, see, all congressmen are allowed to make their proposal. His proposal increases the number of H1s by a factor of 2. How's that? So these are different proposals by different congressmen, different senators. And they'll be debated, and it'll take a year or so before anything can be finalized. So there will be proposals from both sides. Some will say cut it, some will say increase it. One of the, Beta, you want to address this issue of 20 years or 50 years it takes to get...
this you have like a better command on this.
Okay. See, people don't talk about that, but there is a much bigger issue, and this is the question that should have been asked. It's kind of a... let me give you a scenario, and the question is, why would Indian press not talk to Democrats or Barack Obama when he came here? Why don't you ask him the question? I'll tell you what the biggest problem in H1 temporary visas is. There are at least 500,000, maybe as many as 1 million very smart, a lot of them even PhDs, engineers, IT people who are on H1 and their green card has been approved. Now, in the current system, it takes as many as 50 years, 50, to get a green card. So let's say you have a family, typically that's what the scenario is. You graduate out of college at 22, Typically, these people get a master's at 24. They get their PhD at 25, 26. Start their work permits for a year and a half, 26, 27. And then they are on H1. Takes 2-3 years before you're going to get your green card submitted. So when you are 30 years old, and your green card is approved, but it will not be issued for another 50 years. What do? Have you guys ever asked Obama this question? Here's what happens. Okay, let me take you further. So let's say you are 30 years old and you have kids who are 14, 15. What do you do with them? Because when they become 21, they are no longer eligible for a green card from your parents because they are adults. So it destroys families. So that is the real problem on H1 visa, which people don't address. And that is, by the way, is going to get fixed by Trump. Absolutely. Every step of the way. You know the one particular incident. You have the statement from Saeed, right? The mastermind of Mumbai terror attack. You heard his statement? He was roaming around with a $10 million bounty on his head, free, in Pakistan for how long? When did the Mumbai terror attack happen? 2008? So he's been roaming around for a good 6-7 years. And so Trump comes into power and he says, oh my God, that's his statement, very directly attributed to Trump victory, that he's in jail. And another issue, which is also a little signal, which is Trump has dropped. Pakistan was getting foreign aid of $4 billion a year until we worked on cutting it down to 2 in 2012. It's been creeping up under Democrats again. It's been creeping up to like $2.5–3 billion. Trump has already announced zero, no foreign aid.
So also he has talked anti-Muslim.
Be answered by Manasvi. But let me tell you what actually gets the hate crimes going.
And also,
How many of
how
you
do you
have watched?
reassure the Muslims in
How
the
many of you
Mamgai
have
case?
watched the CNN program by Rezlan?
No.
Anybody? It was broadcast all over the United States as a major primetime program,
Yes,
where they like to have Americans believe that Hindus are cannibals. They eat human brains. Now, if you go and tell 330 million Americans that, oh, we got 4 million Hindus in your midst who eat human brains, would that not make them more violent towards Hindus? That's something where this should be addressed. And by the way, RSC is going to address that. Trump is going to address that. So anyway, first question, you could answer that.
What was that?
The profiling and screening of Muslims. And
It's not, so I don't know how this word Muslim and Muslim ban has come out. It's not. It's just the 7 countries that have been named, their vetting is not being able to done properly, which is why it was the 7 countries. It wasn't targeting like anything. Everything's like blown out of proportion. These 7 countries do not have a functioning government that could vet the passengers, so which is why that happened. And it was a temporary thing. And out of like how many passengers came that day in America, and only 100 were detained? 5,000.
I think 200,000 came and there 128 were detained.
Yeah, so like only a very, very small fraction of them were detained, and then this became such a big news. They never saw the 500,000 which were actually let in.
Actually,
How do you reassure
there is a
in the US?
no, there is another good question there. You should ask yourself. The press should ask. Assume for a minute that Pakistan declares officially that they are going to send mercenaries to enter India and kill and blow up the Delhi malls or parliament or whatever. What should Indian government do? Should they exercise a lot of caution? In fact, I was just noticing at the airport, this is the first time I noticed it, there is a section for Pakistan nationals. People who come from Pakistan, they go through a different line on immigration. Oh, then you'll say, why are you profiling Pakistanis? Why is that question not asked?
Of course, the US and India have shared history and.
The federal agencies, can you tell me for sure that the people who are entering the United States, that they're not terrorists? They're not coming here to blow up the malls. All the agencies combined, they said no, they can't. What are you going to do? If your agency says there's no way we can do it, because there are governments where we don't even know whether they have the authority or they can even issue proper passports. Somalia. How are you going to even verify that there is a proper passport? There is no functioning government. So the whole idea there was simply to do vetting, to make sure that these people are not terrorists. That's all.
I still don't have an answer. How are you reassuring?
Because I've not interacted with politicians as much, I just always feel that they have a certain facade. They say something and they do something else. But here's a man who's doing exactly what he said. So before the campaign, he said, "I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. He's doing exactly the same things." So for me, I think that is admirable. Because we're tired. The younger generation, I think we're tired of people saying something and putting on the perfect picture and not delivering. That's why I admire our Prime Minister as well. He's a strong leader. He connects with people, and I see a lot of similarities between the both. Even when the elections were happening, the way the elections had happened when Prime Minister was contesting, they were same. Media called him so many things. People called him so many things. But look where the country is going. We are progressing. Same way. So even our campaign was called Ab Ki Baar Trump Sarkar based on the campaign here. So I see a lot of similarities, and I see strong leaders who are not putting up a front. They are who they are, and they're saying it like it is. That's what attracts me.
शलभ जी, सोनल पीछे, चूंकि अब आपने कोई रणनीति बना रहा है.
They're forcing them to be not two-faced. As simple as that. In fact, there are lots of arrests that have taken place now within Pakistan. See, Pakistan Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif, he doesn't like terrorists. That's my opinion. His hand is only forced. In fact, you'll be surprised, uh, we have lots of, I'm from Punjab, so we connect with the Pakistani Punjabis fairly good. So we have lots of Pakistani Punjabis that work for our company. Same culture, same language, same everything, so it's a closer relationship. When you talk to them, most of them, they don't like the terrorist business. They would much rather have Pakistan also develop, just like India has, IT industry, call centers, and that's what they would like to do, rather than getting embroiled in all this nonsense. So, and they support Nawaz Sharif. But the problem there is ISI and military. And it's not even fanatic religion. They just use their religion. It's ISI and military. It's a way for them to make money, that's all. If there is a conflict, they're going to make a lot of money. If there's no conflict, there's peace, no terrorist activity, where are they going to make money?
So if you would tell us about what makes you an admirer, you were also one of his biggest financial backers during the campaign.
So already, see, she's
You're
already
right.
answered that.
Said it.
But that's my admiration. What is your admiration?
Simple, one line. Enough of these politicians. We need a businessman to run the country. As simple as that.